The Atlantic puffin is a bird that, while few in number, is most closely associated with Maine.
But puffins were nearly eradicated in Maine in the late 1800s and early 20th century, either from being hunted or having their eggs stolen. 50 years ago, a project to reintroduce puffins to 4 Maine islands began, and it has had some success, but now there's a new threat.
News Center Maine's Don Carrigan takes us to one of those islands, Eastern Egg Rock, to find out how Maine's changing climate may have a more lasting impact on the puffin's future along our coastline.
From the water, Eastern Egg Rock may not look like much, but seabirds love it. And one species in particular that we humans also love, the Atlantic puffin. Puffins are a northern species of bird, reintroduced here as an experiment about 50 years ago, and it worked. There are now more than 100 pairs of puffins nesting on this island most summers and raising chicks, with young scientists from the National Audubon Society keeping watch.
And people love puffins, are really, charmed by their appearance.
We rode to the island with Don Lyons, who oversees the work. He's director of conservation science for Audubon's Seabird Institute. They study many birds, but puffins are the stars.
So it's a great species to study and share kind of what's going on with them with a really wide audience, because it helps people understand the tangible effects of climate change that are already happening.
What's happening, he says, is complicated.
The puffins here in the Gulf of Maine and Eastern Egg Rock are generally doing okay.
But he says these beloved birds face a real challenge from climate change and rising ocean temperatures. The puffins depend on the fish here in the Gulf of Maine to survive, and rising ocean temperatures in the Gulf have caused problems the last few years with their favorite food, the Atlantic herring.
And herring have really been challenged both by climate change and by aggressive human harvest.
Lyons says the puffins may fly many miles out to sea to find fish for their own food and to bring back to the burrows to feed hungry chicks. Warmer water may force the fish to even deeper ocean, making them harder for the puffins to get.
We haven't seen food conditions get so dire that the adult puffins begin starving themselves, but we are seeing some years where it's really hard for them to raise chicks.
And that's what the resident scientists are watching. They're living on the island for 4 months to track the nesting, comings, and goings of the birds.
I wasn't expecting really when I came onto the island to fall in love with their personalities, but the puffins and the terns and all these birds just have such charming personalities, and they're so fun to watch.
And just living every day surrounded by swooping and chattering terns and gulls and puffins.
Arriving to the island with all the seabirds just circling, and then seeing my first puffin just fly out towards his boat, it was unreal.
But there is work every day.
We do diet studies with the birds and sitting in blinds. We also will band, we'll grub for the birds.
Watching the numbered burrows for evidence of chicks, such as bringing in fish. We're told that puffins, remarkably, mate for life and mostly return to the same island every year. This same pair may be back here next year.
Mm-hmm. And using the same burrow.
And what these watchers see and record becomes part of the decades-long record of Project Puffin research in this place.
There's a lot that needs our care right now.
Liz Ridley grew up in Maine and says she is glad to be part of the long history of caring for her home state's puffins.
But just knowing that that's that's, like you said, future generations, hopefully coming down the line, that will have their chicks here one day.
The researchers tell us the puffins are something of a bellwether when it comes to climate change. This is the southernmost part of their range. There are no breeding spots anywhere south of here for the Atlantic puffin. But they all know the future is uncertain because of the changes in sea temperature and ocean water chemistry brought on by the changing climate.
we're seeing red flags, and we're not to the point where those are, impending doom, but it's concerning. It's a wake-up call for us, to better manage climate change, to be able to hold on to these rare and threatened species here in the Gulf.
And that is why they continue keeping watch. On Muscongas Bay, Don Kerrigan, News Center, Maine.